Shop Talk.
Hello and welcome to Shop Talk. We're here today at the Wichita Pain Center with Dr. Mark Albers. Mark, good to see you today.
Good to see you, Grant.
Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I started out as commercial flight training and had a bad car accident, and that led me into the chiropractic field. But through lots of manipulations, joint adjustments, I still couldn't get past my chronic back issues, and that led me into what's called functional medicine, or what I am now as a chiropractic internist. So a lot of different organ systems that fail in the body can create chronic joint and muscle problems.
You kind of explained a little bit about what functional medicine is, or maybe go into a little bit more of that.
Okay, I'm a chiropractic internist, and a lot of people don't know what that is, but as a chiropractic internist, that's a more specialized branch of board-certified primary care physicians that look at more the cause of what your problem is, or disease or illness comes from, the cause of that, versus treating the symptom with drugs or surgery. Now, we're not totally against the use of drugs or surgery if we have to do that, but our primary option is not drugs or surgery initially.
How does functional medicine relate to a common disease or illness?
Okay, well, let's take an example of difficult weight loss or weight gain. A lot of people have that problem here in the United States. And if you remember back years ago, the Cortislim commercial on TV, Cortislim commercial said that if you're under a lot of stress, you're going to produce more cortisol, which is going to produce more belly fat. Remember that commercial? Mm-hmm. And this cortisol comes from the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are very rarely tested in the medical community. So if we have such an issue with weight gain in the United States, that'd be one of the things we might want to check here. And so it's a highly specialized form of testing the adrenal glands that the medical community rarely does. So that's what we do here, is look at some of those organ systems and testing of those organ systems that will find out the cause of where that condition is coming from, versus more diet, more exercise. Although that's good, we also need to look at the cause of where these organ system failures come from and the symptoms that they produce, including weight gain. High blood pressure too. High blood pressure is related to 60% of the, high blood pressure, is related to the adrenal glands in 60% of the cases. So that's a good example there.
A lot of people complain about shoulder pain. I have some shoulder pain from the job I've done for 30 some years. Talk to me a little bit about that. What could be causing that kind of shoulder pain?
Most shoulder pain complaints come from what we call rotator cuff tear. And so what a rotator cuff tear, if you can look at this little example of this diagram, we have the muscle here, we have the tendon, and we have the bone. Now the purpose of the tendon is to attach the muscle to the bone. So if we look at the tendon under the microscope, we have all these little parallel collagen fibers here. So what happens in a rotator cuff tear, we actually tear that tendon, and a lot of these injuries can occur 15, 20, 30 years previous, because the tear starts out as a small tear, and that tear fills in with scar tissue, and over a period of time through what we call micro tears, for example, lifting the kids, or in your case, Grant, lifting a camera or something like that. We have another little micro tear today, one tomorrow, and the next week, and so this tear continues to grow and build, creating more scar tissue. So the more scar tissue you have, the more pain and limitation that you have with that. So that's basically what a rotator cuff tear is. It's a tear in the tendon, and it fills in with scar tissue.
Now, most people would think, well, I've got to go have some surgery and get that corrected, but you have an alternative to that, don't you?
Right. The typical medical approach initially to this kind of thing is cortisone injections, which help reduce the inflammation, which help reduce pain, but they do not remove the scar tissue. The cortisone injection does not remove the scar tissue. Physical therapy can help, but again, that does not remove the scar tissue, so our goal is to remove the scar tissue. And the only way to do that is through surgery, or what we call transverse friction therapy. It's a soft tissue treatment that we can remove the scar tissue without having to perform surgery. So when we do this, most people get anywhere from 30 to 90% improvement in the first treatment. So if we have an option versus surgery, then most people opt for that. So what we can do is we can remove that scar tissue without the surgery, which leads us to this stage where we don't have the scar tissue, and eventually this area will fill in with a good collagen fiber and restore this back to the normal tendon. So it's a very non-invasive means of restoring the tendon back to the normal function, so we don't have to rely on the surgery.
How did that treatment come about?
It was devised by an orthopedic surgeon. In fact, he was called the godfather of orthopedic surgery, but he tried to introduce that into the orthopedic community. They wouldn't have that because of the politics of medicine. The surgery is going to be a much more expensive proposition than what we do here. What we do here is a fraction of the cost of surgery. So they're not going to probably replace what I do or their surgery with what I do because they're making a great deal more money doing the surgery. That's their approach. I have a more alternative approach to that.
How much improvement can people look for if they have this kind of treatment?
Typically, we'll see anywhere from 30 to 90% improvement in the first treatment. Now, that doesn't mean we're cured in one visit. That just means we're on the right track and we can complete this process by continuing to do the treatment. Typically, it requires about 18 to 20 treatments in most cases to complete this process.
How can people find out more about the treatment if they're interested in this?
They can go to our website, which is www.wichitapaaincenter.com, and we'll have all kinds of information on there as far as this particular treatment. And then we have lots of testimonials on there of people who have had successful treatment with us concerning the rotator cuff tear.
And it's not just shoulder pain that people can come to you for, right?
Sure. That's one of my specialties is a rotator cuff tear, but most of my day is spent with functional medicine, so people who have diabetes or high blood pressure, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, things like that, hormonal issues. We look at the advanced blood testing and physical examination to determine where that's coming from. And again, treating the cause using diet, lifestyle, and environmental changes versus drugs or surgery, if we can all help that.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Grant.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.